and welcome back to the Team Podcast. I'm Sonia, and this week I'm joined by Jason Levin, the founder of Memelord Technologies. He raised $3 million to make memes and hit 100K ARR in 9 months without spending a single dollar in ads. Hi, Jason. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got a really big topic for the first one. It's kind of bringing together three different things that I saw happen last week. One of them is that Wired article talking about the band Geese that seemed to have come out of nowhere. They had the biggest breakout year last year in 2025. Their fourth album was added to all of the year-end lists. They were on SNL. They just played Coachella. The Guardian called them the new saviors of rock and roll. And then the TikTok backlash started, calling them a fizz-up, an industry plant, and questioning why everyone liked them all of a sudden. So the Wired article comes out and basically explains that a digital marketing firm called Chaotic Good Projects is running what they call narrative campaigns or trend simulation for Geese, where they have built out a network of TikTok accounts to play the background music using Geese. Sharing live clips, basically engineering ecosystems where people are engaging with the band's music and having that music then filter out to the wider population. And it's working. So the co-founder described it on a podcast saying, we can drive impressions on anything at this point. We know how to go viral. And it was called out by another singer-songwriter calling it fake fans, where she basically traced the connection and said, if 100 people think your song sucks, Chaotic Good will then scrub all the mentions and get 200 people to create TikToks saying that they love your song. So the question here is does that count? Is it organic? Do people actually like your music? Or are they kind of building buzz around you? Yeah, that's kind of how marketing works. You figure out what's working, where the people are at, and then you find those people and do your best to get in front of them. So you kind of do engineer most of, the traffic, the audience that you're trying to do if you're good at marketing, right? I think what's different here is that it's a little bit more of how the sausage is made, and people don't like feeling as if they're being tricked into liking a band. But my thing is you're discovering a band that you might never have heard of ever if they hadn't been creating these engagement circles, and you like the band, so what's the problem? But Jason, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I would completely agree is the fact that people have been doing this forever. So
Mhm.
one of Memelord's biggest users actually is record labels. So record labels use Memelord to break new artists
Mhm.
using meme videos and doing it secretly by putting the music behind meme videos. So I'm very well aware of this and have been on the phone actually with record labels, a bunch of them the last 3 weeks,
Mhm.
because this is a huge use case right now is you
Yeah.
need to break music. It's hyper competitive. Right now, today, actually, I saw the news that Suno is now the number one music app on the App Store. So
Yeah.
it's a very hard, sneaky time to be an artist. You've got to be clever. And this has always been true.
Yeah.
If you think the meme pages or the fan pages on Twitter for artists are real, I've got really bad news for you guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are all created by the record labels. Like the
Mhm.
second they sign an artist, they start creating pages for them and they're run by 16-year-old interns who are working for free because it's music and
Mhm.
they just treat you like shit. And that's just how the music industry has always been. It's how the sausage was made. Some of the
Yeah.
best artists did it. Some of my favorite artists growing up, you find out later, oh, they bought YouTube views. Who cares? I love their
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
And look, marketers are going to do marketing-y things, right? The real problem here is actually the distributors. So things like
Mm.
Spotify. There was an article that broke 2 years ago called Ghost in the Machine. There's Spotify playlists of lo-fi beats or whatever. And it's
Mhm.
there's no lyrics. So what did Spotify do? They just used AI. That way they wouldn't
Yeah.
have to pay artists as much on their playlists. So artists are
Right.
just reacting to the times
Yeah.
and doing whatever they can by any means necessary. And I don't think this is anything new. Look, this is just astroturfing 101. What they're not even talking about is just the phone farms that people have, like, the
Oh,
straight up, like
totally. I
yeah,
mean, you tell
like
that on Twitter, if you're Twitter, YouTube,
yeah.
everything, or it's like you have circles of things. Like one thing I want to add to that is like I remember when you know, MySpace like first came out and you had like bands figuring out how to get how to figure out how MySpace works so that they can be the music that, people are featuring on their pages. Justin Bieber, who just had his performance at Coachella, right? He became famous because of YouTube, right? Like they discovered him there. He figured out what he needed to do, started uploading videos of himself singing, or his mom did. And all of a sudden he like gets chosen by Usher and it worked, right? So it's like artists need to do that, right? Taylor Swift, right? A huge reason why she's so famous is because she interacted with people on Twitter, on Instagram. Her fans, she was like genuinely building those relationships. So it's like, it's not surprising to me that the next iteration of this is TikTok, right? I think where it gets a little tricky where it's like, well, all those people were doing it by themselves. Now we have, digital marketing firms that specialize in doing this. The singer-songwriter that called this out on her Substack admitted that she would totally do this like for
Yeah,
herself.
anybody would if they had the money, and that's
Right.
just, like, the sad part is, like, I even look at people like Clavicular or whatever, I'm like, "Oh, those"
Mhm.
like, they're spending
Oh,
hundreds of
totally.
thousands per month on clipping, and you look at some of these new, media orgs, and, like, I'm, like, criticizing them, but at the same time, like, I've paid for clipping, and I would do it in a heartbeat again. I have, like, very controversial takes on this because of my background as, like, creating YouTube creator. I've done
Yeah,
the
yeah.
clipping, and now I'm seeing all these, like, companies doing it,
Mhm.
and, like, it really works if you're trying to be famous or, like, art or music, but, like,
Mhm.
if you have a different kind of product, it doesn't always work. But the point I'm trying to say here is like this is nothing new.
Yeah.
Like the whole clip economy thing is it's not new. It's decades, years old. Like they've been doing this forever. It's just like this is the final form. This is a late
Mhm.
stage capitalism where you could be in a group chat or a Discord with 30,000 kids getting paid
Mhm.
pennies, and like that is just what the labor market is now of like the internet and like before it was just you're in a record label back room, everybody's smoking weed and cutting up videos or putting up flyers, and now
Mhm.
it's, 30,000 of those kids doing it instead of 10 of them, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. So
nothing
this is
changed.
yeah, yeah. So it's perfect segue into the other two things that I wanted to bring up
Oh,
in this topic, right? Where last week, marketing writer Rachel Carton talked about interviewing two agencies behind brand accounts that are popping up that are brand adjacent but
yeah.
aren't the brand themselves.
So,
And
I have a lot of
one of
thoughts
the
on this,
yeah,
so
and so one of them is called Arby's Boys, where you basically have them pretending to be like Arby's employees, and then Not Spirit Airlines, where you have similar, right? And so they aren't like official brand accounts, but they're bringing more views actually than the brand accounts because they're funny. They're able to say a lot of things that the actual brand accounts can't say. So it's become far more effective to be popping up all these like fan accounts than it is to put the energy behind the actual brand accounts. And this kind of led to another thought that we'll talk about later here, but this whole idea of like having in-house influencers that like are pretty much just creating under your own brand. And we've seen this kind of we've talked about this actually here where we had the Staples baddie, right? So that was like an employee that kind of was doing these ASMR like videos all on her own, right? She was just like
yeah,
doing
yeah.
it for love of the game, right? And now we're starting to see that like companies are realizing, oh, people want organic content that is coming from regular people. Well, how do you create organic content without trying to find, like the person that's going to do it? You start bringing in like content creators that will like do the work for you and put it in their own voice so that you're kind of getting their personality and their character and their allure, their audience, and not messing up your brand account, which kind of has to stay a little bit boring, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
so 100%. I mean, we've been doing this for brands for about a year actually
mhm,
and running fake pages or secondary pages, we call
mhm,
them,
mhm.
because it allows them to take a lot more risk. And
Yeah.
so if you're running a serious brand and you want to leverage humor, what do? You don't do it on the main page necessarily. You do it on
Right.
secondary pages that subtly feature your page. So we've been doing this for a few different unicorns, having a lot of success, for
Mhm.
the last year actually, and it's a lot of AI, it's a lot of sauce around that, and people love the accounts. They love them,
Mhm.
and at the end of the day, it's just leverage on the main brand account and the main company. I think, like, something that a lot of people mistake and, like, for anybody listening to this, like, memes won't save you. You'd think I'm the guy who's like Memelord.com, raised 3 million bucks to make memes, but, like, you still need a good business, and, like, it's
Mhm.
not just about virality or starting, like, 20 accounts. Because like,
Mhm.
I see some of these kids on Twitter who, like, start 40 accounts, and they're just selling, like, an ebook, and it's like,
Right.
dude, like, if you took that time and, like, built a software, you'd be like you'd add another couple zeros in your bank account, like,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so powerful for businesses that do have good businesses, right?
Right.
Like, something like Arby's or something in a boring commodity business that has been
Mhm.
around forever, or that has a solid business, like, they need humor. The last way to stand out is to be unhinged, and you can't just do that on your main account. You need the secondary accounts, whether you're a rapper and you have, a secondary account dedicated to cars. I've seen that. Whether you're,
Mhm.
a compliance brand and have a fake European VC, right? You've seen that on Twitter. Whether you're, whatever industry, like, you need multiple accounts. And it's also just about, like, reps now, where it's like we're no longer in the follower economy or follower
Right.
dominated timelines. I think Twitter's like the best at it, and still people complain every day about,
I
like,
know.
growing their following and, like, not
Yeah.
getting access. But, like, bro, you see TikTok, right? Like,
Mhm.
the followers doesn't matter. You see, like,
Yeah.
a bad video just doesn't pop. And, it's something I think everybody's reckoning with. I think a lot of, like, I feel bad for the early YouTubers that spent, like,
Mm.
10 years growing to 3 million subscribers, and then they're just like, "What do I do now?"
Mhm,
Um,
mhm, mhm.
so I think that's why they started secondary accounts, right?
Right.
Like, Mr. Beast has 10 accounts. Like, every
Mhm,
big
mhm.
YouTuber has niche accounts, right?
Right.
We're all just, like, doing similar things. It also, like, I don't know, I think we're gonna start seeing a lot more of this, is all I'm gonna say,
Oh,
like, secondary,
totally.
3rd, tertiary,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I
50
think the biggest
accounts, you
thing
know?
is you have to go where the customers are,
Yeah.
and the biggest thing that customers are doing these days is they don't care to follow brands. They just want to be in the ecosystem, and if they see a funny brand video, they'll like it, but that doesn't mean that they'll like go and follow your brand to follow the rest of like your content. And I think that a lot of brands are missing that because they're like, well, why isn't our brand growing? It's like it doesn't matter. We're playing the algorithm game now, and what that means is you have to be creating content that people actually want to see and come back to, right? The other thing is that, like, because of the way that the algorithms are working, it doesn't matter if they follow you anymore because as long as they interact with you or engage with you in some way, they're going to get your content, popping up in their feed. And as long as they don't just like automatically swipe, you're going to keep going into like their feed. I have so many clients are like, well, why is my follower count not growing? And it's like, okay, but your engagement is growing, your likes are growing, your impressions are growing. Like, let's look at that because those are like the bigger things that like affect the outreach that you're going to be having. And the more that people like see you pop up, maybe eventually they'll convert, but you have to like continue putting out that content. The last thread is this whole idea that I'm seeing of I mean, we talked about a little bit, but the clipping that's happening with like podcasts, TV, films, and music. Obviously, we've seen a lot of this in podcasts because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a lot of how they get out there. But the change that I'm starting to see is the movie studios are starting to put out what are essentially summaries of their films or TV shows directly onto like TikTok
Yeah.
and Twitter. And I'm just like, I'm watching like the whole thing. Am I actually gonna go and watch the Netflix show? No. But I'm like interested in like the, minute clip that they've, put out for like the show itself. They're starting to think it's more of a Gen Z thing. I quibble with that. Like I'm gonna find like entertainment where I'm gonna find it. And this is kind of like a way for me to, see what's going on in terms of pop culture without actually having to spend the like, 6 to 10 hours to watch a whole season of a show that's not actually gonna make it into the monoculture, you know? And the other one is what I am seeing the difference in is the types of shows that are doing more of the clipping, right? Like for things that are getting into the monoculture, like Project Hail Mary, The Pit, all these shows that like people are watching, Game of Thrones and everything, you see more of like the teaser style trailers and fan cams and all to get you to actually go watch the show instead of the ones that are giving you the summary. And I think that that's like a difference of like the company starting to realize, okay, this is a show that people will actually watch, will actually spend the time to watch with everybody else. They want to participate in the closest that we get to monoculture. And then these other shows, Netflix shows that, they've got like one season or whatever. Are the ones that like we want to clip. And this is an idea that they've started taking from the fan cams that are coming from fans that want to get people to like watch, their favorite shows. And then in order for them to continue actually making the show later. So would love to hear your thoughts on this, on clipping in general, what you think, like what you kind of see like the progress and like the future.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to memes in a sense of memes are the oldest form of marketing. It's just funny
Mhm.
marketing, right?
Yeah.
That's the oldest form. I mean, maybe sex is the only thing older than humor marketing. And like clipping is nothing new either, is like where my head's at. It's just we
Mhm,
finally have software to do it at the speed of light and internet to connect everybody. Like clipping has been around, like whatever, 100 years. Like there were TV, like mini TV clips that like got shared, people watched those. There were radio, people would listen to segments on repeat or
mhm,
whatever, like early days of YouTube, CDs, like that's just clipping, right? Like it's just
mhm,
making content shorter and distributing it. We're just entering a very weird time. So I have a group chat of 40,000 kids on WAP, right? If you've heard of that, right? And
mhm,
so when I was growing my YouTube channel, I invested, 10 grand into clipping.
mhm,
And I would just drop in a Google Drive folder of all the videos of me. I'd tell 40,000 kids, here's $2 per thousand views you get. Go clip it, right?
mhm,
And these 40,000 kids would do whatever they want. And it comes down to the fact that creativity from the masses is way more powerful than me
mhm.
hiring 3 kids here, right?
Yeah.
And like look, the clipping economy, like it's like I said earlier, like clips are really good if you want to be famous or viral or a YouTuber or influencer. And like I was going down that path of creatory influencer, then I went
Mhm,
and raised and like I am not sure like does it also work for startups? And I think we've seen a
mm,
couple. I'm not going to name any names because I'm
mhm.
friendly with them, but like we've seen a couple who have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into clipping their startup and it's failing
Yeah.
miserably because it doesn't work. Wanna know what works? Is, like, go in your fucking CRM and find people who have a lot of money, contact them, and book a call. Like,
Mhm, mhm.
there like, it works if you're trying to be famous, but, like, you shouldn't be raising money if you're trying to be a famous influencer, and I think people are always really surprised when they hear me say this because of my background and, like, because of, like, my work, but, like, if you're building a startup, like, I'm just saying, like, you can ignore things, like,
Mhm,
um, when it comes to music or movies, go clip, go
mhm,
crazy,
mhm,
like,
mhm.
your entire job is views, like,
Right.
and, that's also part of why we raised for Memelord was, like, every movie studio, uh, who releases a comedy movie or any movie, right? Those screenshots turn into memes and meme videos, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place where people could edit them and immediately get them on the meme pages they want, right? That was part of the thesis when I got our first angel check was because our investor was working on a movie, right? And if you're going into clipping, just be careful and, like, don't expect it to just be like that, and also, if you have a product that isn't just you,
Yeah.
like, it might not be the right way to do that. That's all I'm saying on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. I see a lot of companies like interested in, oh, we should be on TikTok. And it's like, okay, but is your audience on TikTok?
Yeah.
Are the people that are actually gonna purchase from you on TikTok? If not, then you'd be better like served going to LinkedIn, and being where your customers are actually gonna buy your product. And setting up, thought leadership campaigns that you can do there. I think a lot of the times, especially young startups and young founders have this like idea that, oh, you have to do like the coolest, like, edgiest thing in
Yeah.
marketing. I mean, that's why we saw, like, the huge dearth of, like, launch videos that came out, in the
Oh,
past 2
ugh,
years,
it's been
because it's
bad. We're
like
in a
someone
bubble.
started doing it. Right. Someone started doing
Oh,
it, thought it was cool, and now it's like, okay, every company has to
yeah.
spend what, like, $40,000 to do a, like, launch video? That's insane. Um
I spent $300 on our launch video, got 1.1 million views, and it's because I edited it myself,
Mhm.
and I loved every second of making it, and it was so
Yeah.
special. I raised 3 million bucks. I could have spent 50 grand, but I'm
Right.
cheap, and I like doing stuff myself, and there's no reason to. Everybody's just trying to copy Roy, and Roy has sauce, but, like, that doesn't mean you have to go copy that, alright? Like, I love Roy, like, I've supported him since his early days when he was at
Mhm.
Columbia, but, like, you don't have to go try to be the next Roy. You could just be yourself, and,
Well, but
like
that's the hard part, right? Everybody just
yeah.
sees, "Oh, that marketing is working. I should do that
But it's
marketing."
not working, that's the thing.
Right.
It's like, it's working really well for the people who get paid to quote tweet your company. Like, I know of an
Right.
agency apparently doing 10 mil a year in just launch videos and the quote tweets surrounding them. Like, we are in such a bubble where all these kids are trying to copy Roy in
Mhm.
order to get a fat VC round for a product that doesn't work, and it just
Mhm.
that is a really good way to get famous in the infamous in the worst way possible and get
Mhm.
blackballed from Silicon Valley. And, like, we are in such a fucking bubble. Go take the time to go build a real product and
Yep.
then, go make a video. But that doesn't mean you need to spend 50 grand on it. You
Mhm.
just don't need to. I could be wrong and I'm not
No, I mean,
risk
we're
on
seeing the
enough,
backlash,
but
right? We're seeing the
yeah, we're seeing
backlash
a lot of
on
backlash. We're
where
like,
people are like, "Oh,
people are going to
another
jail.
launch
There's
video."
fraud. Yeah,
Right.
there's a lot
Well,
of
yeah.
fraud. There's
There's all
so
that
much
for
shit.
sure. I mean, we saw the Delve, situation that happened like
I'm
a
not even
month
talking
ago.
just that. I'm talking, like, even you think about all the unpaid promotion, all that stuff, like, look, like, I'm all about growing your own meme accounts, everything like that, but I don't know, we're getting into a weird timeline where, everybody's vying for attention of, people that might not even buy your product,
Right.
and, like, there are a lot of ways to get attention that aren't a launch video.
So lessons for the last thing is this whole idea of like what does it mean to be organic and create organic content. I think we're kind of past that in the sense that there's still authentic ways for you to create fake content that is organic because of the way that it feels to people who see it. You're just finding people that are more, are better creating, to create that UGC instead of random customers that aren't good at creating that content, right? And even then, we create testimonials for customers all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I
how
look,
much of it is real, you know? And I understand the whole people not liking seeing how the sausage is made because there's so much of this, anti-marketing bias, I think, like anti-ads, like just marketing in general, that people think it should be real and authentic. And it's like that doesn't exist. It's the internet. And so that's where brands need to think about, well, how can we get as close as possible? Like we can find creators that genuinely love our brand to create content for us. We can, help customers create better, UGC or, start working with like employees, right? We started seeing like a lot of people in-house like employees being able to be subject matter experts about the product or the service that is far more interesting to people to learn about than it is something that's like a testimonial from a customer. What I mean is like we just saw with like Project Hail Mary, all like the cinematographers and the directors like come out and speak about how they're creating the shot and how they built like the actual sets, and that content got so many more views than just like the fan cams of like Ryan Gosling, which, fine, we're going to get views because it's Ryan Gosling. But showing the behind the scenes of how everything kind of came together made the entire campaign for the movie far more viral than if
yeah.
it had just been relying on Ryan Gosling to be pretty and talk about the movie.
Yeah, I think that also comes down to the fact that everybody assumes everything's AI now, so if you show
Yeah.
behind the scenes, then you're suddenly, "Oh, this is real," and I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, if you could prove that you're human in today's world, it's worth a lot of money, and, like, people will love that, especially, like, in the age of AI,
Mhm.
UGC, and all the bullshit around that. That being said, back to your UGC, I had a very interesting call this morning with my team. So we sponsored this guy who does 5-minute breakdowns on memes and the etymology and nerdiness behind it.
Mm.
And I was like, "I could never do this."
Yeah.
Like, this is Adam Smith's division of labor, like, oh my god, like, I
Mhm.
just can't do this. Like, it is a great way to get somebody yapping about your shit, and he did it in
Mhm.
a great way where it just says, "Sponsored by Memelord" in the middle, "Thank you for
Mhm.
supporting." It wasn't, like, over the top, it wasn't shady, like,
Mhm.
I think every brand needs to figure it out for themselves and, like,
Mhm.
really think about what you want your brand to be,
I mean, that reminds
and
me of the
yeah.
Subway podcast, where it's like
Yeah, yeah,
there's just two bros going back and forth talking in a
that's it.
podcast, and then it's like a Subway podcast. Brands are figuring it out.
So I rented out a movie theater to play Instagram Reels. Why? Because the internet is the new Hollywood. Everything starts on the internet. This is, just obviously true. The weirdest ideas, the movements all start there. And so I also wanted everybody to feel comfortable with sharing their algo. I think it's something that we all are kind of freaked out by is like, what if somebody sees something weird on my algo? It's like, no, like you can't control it. That's kind of the point. And
Mhm.
like, yeah, you could kind of slightly alter it, but I think that was the most fun part. And again, back to this, like, how do you get attention
Mhm.
on your brand without just like A, blasting cold emails and B, like just spending 50 grand a month on clipping yourself? Like,
Mhm.
I spent 3 grand on renting out a movie theater in New York. Like, it wasn't that expensive. And then I just invited like everyone in our CRM and everybody on Twitter, got a bunch of our big investors, famous influencers, like, potential customers, current customers, everything in between. And look, like, yes, it's a clever idea. I'm in the business of weird, clever ideas, but, like,
Mhm.
I don't think, like, this is something so unusual that other people
Mhm.
can't do it. Like, I was inspired by it because our VC rented out that same movie theater and brought in, a finance whiz to talk about finance and play a finance movie. Like, I just remixed it, that's it. So, like,
Mhm.
if there's something in your brand that is, you could throw on a movie theater, go do it. You're not stealing my
Mhm.
idea, go remix it in your own way. Maybe it's seeing the best, I don't know, fashion movie ever for a fashion brand. It's only
Mhm.
3 grand. That's how much a terrible influencer, or not terrible, like a
Mhm.
mid-tier influencer costs, right? Is like 3 grand. So like
Mhm.
you might as well go throw an event.
I
And
did
this
see that,
really, yeah,
a lot of, I think it was like, 5 different like companies and VCs hire out, theaters to watch Project Hail
yeah,
Mary with like their employees and their families. So it fit like the brand of what they're trying to do. Like, and so they rent it out because their whole thing is like we want to like support, science and technology and tech optimism, which right now we have such, a need for. So that kind of like, when you popped up with this, I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. Cause then, the Instagram Reels fits within the Meme Lord, brand. And I thought it was like a really cool like remix of how you could do it for your brand and still get that like get people talking about it. So I guess, yeah, what were the results in terms of how many people showed up? How long did it last? Like, what did you do before and after?
yeah, yeah.
Give us all the details.
Yeah, about 100 plus people showed up, including 2 very big influencers in the
Mm,
marketing meme space. So that was,
mhm,
like, really exciting, plus our investors, customers, everything in between.
mhm,
We watched reels for about an hour after just, like, chatting, and then I gave a little talk about, the internet's the new Hollywood, go make stuff, it's a lot more
mhm,
fun with your friends. The 3 biggest surprises, I'm gonna go with number 1 because it was off the top of my head, was
mhm,
as soon as people realized it was an ad, everybody started booing, which I found just fascinating. And like
mm.
the other weirdest part was
What
actually
was the ad? You talking?
no, it was just somebody else talking like on the screen an Instagram reel of somebody talking.
Oh, got
Yeah, yeah.
it.
And
Yeah. So
everybody,
was that all organic? Like you
yeah,
were
yeah,
just
we were just we
somebody's
were
feed,
yeah,
or
just
like you
scrolling,
guys were
just
okay.
scrolling, passing around the phone scrolling, and, that was one. The second was just, like, the internet is just so unhinged, and I love it,
Mhm,
and it's
mhm,
just, like, the creativity of the masses, like I was saying earlier, like,
yeah.
you can't even believe just, like, the level of creativity is just so much smarter than, like, the last 5 years of Hollywood movies because
Mm,
every, like, crazy creative is just making stuff on the internet, even if they're working in Hollywood, fine, but, like,
mhm.
they're still making weird stuff,
Yeah.
and, like, I was really inspired, to make my stuff weirder, and, like, it actually inspired me as a creator, and, like, a few days later, I, like, worked really hard on a video and it went viral, and because I was
Mhm.
just inspired by seeing such weird stuff, and so I would say, like, those are the 2 biggest thing was, like, step up our meme game, like,
Mhm,
we are
mhm.
Memelord, like, but, like, step it up, and, like, 2 is just like, oh, that ad thing was fascinating. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, you gotta sit back and, like that's why people do sneaky ads, right? Or why
Right.
you scroll stop it. Um I think, like, the other big thing was the fact that, like, Meta reached out, which was very cool. The
Mhm.
Meta comms
Oh,
team
'cause of
reached out,
Instagram, sure, yeah.
and yeah, 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 and so, I mean, that's exciting for us, like, our investors are ex-Meta, but, like, I've never, like, met with the Meta team or
Yeah,
whatever, and I just think that's big for meme lord, so,
yeah.
all in all, like, look, if you're thinking about renting out a movie theater, I would 10 out of 10 recommend doing it, and, like, going into this, it's way more fun than another dinner event. I wrote this viral
Yeah.
banger about this because every tech company tries to host dinner events. All right, guys, there are more things that tech bros like doing than eating. All right. I have
I mean,
hosted,
do they even
yeah,
like to eat right now?
I mean,
Everyone's
not
on
even like I
on
don't drink.
Ozempic.
Yeah, I don't even drink. Like half the people are on Ozempic. Yeah, 100%. And it's like, just take the extra 15
Yeah.
seconds, 10, 15, think of something else. Like, for me, like, I love playing ping pong with my friends, so I hosted a ping pong event. Another time, I hosted a bug horror story for Halloween where engineers told horror stories of bugs
Mhm,
in prod, right? Like, it's just not that hard to think of something that isn't dinner, and, like, the
mhm.
funniest part to me is, like, I found out some inside baseball from an investor is, like, these dinner series events, everybody is copying one specific company that does this, but what they don't realize is that company is burning more cash than I have in my bank account currently per month hosting events. And it's
Oh my god.
because it is a bank, right?
Mhm.
It's a tech bank, but
Yeah.
everybody thinks they have to go be like that and spend 10 grand on a dinner. And it's
Mhm.
like, no, like they're doing that because they're spending 3 million bucks a month, dude, like, hosting events and dinners around the world and country, and it's like, they do more than that, but they're hosting every city. It's like, you don't have to go do that.
Yeah.
Be clever, be cheap. It's why I love memes is, like, they're fast. Like, when I was, as a broke, young internet marketing kid, like, memes were my way of standing out, and they still are, where you don't need a big budget, you don't need a podcast studio, you don't need to be clipping, you can make memes and grow a following and make money and, grow an audience, and so, like, I don't know, back to the point of if you're gonna host an event, don't just throw another fucking dinner, like, tomorrow night, I got invited to a fancy dinner at Dorsia, and you'd think I'd be really excited about it, but somebody else invited me to a different event, and I'm going to that because I could
Mhm,
I could have dinner.
mhm.
I can eat by myself. That is my rant. Stop inviting tech bros to dinner. That's all. We don't even eat that much, you're right, like, I barely eat anymore. I'm so stressed thinking about AI. So alright,
No, no, no,
rant
I love
done.
that. So no, yeah, so, when you did that rant, I, like, reached out and I was like, "I wanna talk about this on the podcast because I see it all the time, I get invited to them," and it just hinges so much on the host because they need everybody to, like, actually wanna be there, but then also try to make friends with other people, and a lot of people are not there to make friends, so sometimes it gets awkward. I like what you said about, kind of thinking outside the box of, like, what you could do that is related to your brand, but then also will get people to do something else, you know? And the bigger thing here is, what I've also seen is that when you do something unique enough, eventually you have companies coming to you, like you had Meta come to you, right? Like I've
Yeah,
had, press reach out because they want to talk about the story of like, oh, you went viral off of doing this, like,
exactly.
different thing that like nobody else is doing. That's what's going to get you more like people talking about it because now it's like, you're talking about it, you're talking about, like, the actual event, you're putting the people that were there enjoyed it so much that they're talking about it, then the press comes and starts talking about it, going back to this, is this organic? Where it's like you're kind of trying to set up, like, these moments that will go viral as much as you can, right? Like you never know what's going to go viral, right? But it does remind me of something else that like happened in terms of like the clipping. This whole idea that the moments are set up in podcasts for like the interviewer and interviewee to have that like moment go viral, right? Like as much as people like to think, oh, these are organic. I mean, we're totally organic. I didn't tell Jason at
Yeah.
all what to say today. But for like the bigger,
No, everything is I got on another podcast this week,
yeah.
and before we started, they're like, "Yo, I'm gonna ask you questions and then pause. That way the editor could clip it better." I was like, "Bro,
Yeah.
why didn't you just tell me that we were doing a clip farming session? I would have worn something funny or something." Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. Like I guess that's just how it works now is
Yeah.
like everybody's clip farming, and
Mhm.
I mean, I get it
Gotta
because
get those
like
views.
you gotta get the clips out, man, but, like, if you're gonna do that, like, I don't know, at least for me, when I was running a podcast, it wasn't about that. Like, it was
Yeah.
actually, like
Mm.
and maybe everybody starts from a genuine place and it devolves into clip farming, but, like,
Mm.
I just wanted to talk to smart people and,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I guess maybe I shouldn't be on this podcast then because I, ain't the brightest, but, it's
Yeah.
as a podcast host, asking for me to come on is like asking, the super unintelligence lab, but, like, it's
No,
like
no.
no, but you know what I mean? It's like, I just, like I don't know, I feel like that is not what podcasts were meant to be, was clip farming. The point of a podcast was to have a long form conversation, and we are now devolving into clips of podcasts that could be taken in, like, 50 different directions, which is
Uh-huh.
fine.
That's where the audience is, right? How
Yeah.
many of us are listening to 3-hour long podcasts, right? Most of the views for that are coming from like the clipping that gets put on Twitter, gets put on TikTok and everything, right?
Lessons to be learned is throw a banger event that isn't dinner for the dear love of God. Throw something. It's actually not that hard. It is actually easier sometimes to host an
Mhm.
event that isn't at a restaurant where you have to go talk to the restaurant manager, call this person and reserve this room, blah, 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 blah. Go think of something else. Dude, wanna know what I love? Bowling. If you wanna get me to an event, it's like, I've loved bowling since I was 15 or ten years old, going to birthday parties, alright? Who doesn't like bowling? Alright? Invite me to a bowling event. Stop inviting me to Dorsia. That's all.
Well, there you go. You
Alright,
heard it
that's the
here,
clip.
folks.
There we got the clip farming. I'm tweeting that
Exactly.
clip. Alright, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna embrace my clip. I'm on my clip farming arc. Fuck it.
There you go. Okay, and then yeah, lesson for me, learning that you're going to be doing these unique events is like a great opportunity to then be getting that extra press and that extra like, content that you can, talk about. That's not just the event itself. It's like how are you repurposing how you're talking about it, right? Like can the founder go out and say, "Hey, this is why we're doing this type of event. These are the results. This is what we've seen." Jason did this with his
Yeah.
AMC event, right? And it's like that gets you more views than like the 100 people that went to the event because people are interested in hearing about new and novel ways that they can like do marketing. So for my last topic, I saw a tweet go viral where they're talking about each platform is different, different culture, different timing, different humor. You need someone who knows what works at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday on a specific app. One person, one platform, full time, native to the culture. Brands figuring this out will look like geniuses in 3 years. And most of what I saw from other marketers in this space was that like, oh yay, Twitter has discovered social media managers. And I thought it was just like funny that that was like the main thing that like people got out of that. Maybe I'm wrong, but what I think is, something that we can talk about here is like the idea that you're going to have people that are native to the platform that are like creators on the platform creating content for you that they know what works best, they know like how to use themselves to talk about your brand in a way that's authentic and not salesy. One of the things here that like I always think is like important for like marketers is to kind of be paying attention to these like trends and like what people are saying online, because by the time it gets to more of like the mainstream audience, that means you're kind of a little bit too late if you hadn't already been thinking about how to approach that, direction. And I think where the social media marketer is going to be able to come in here is to be basically the manager of these influencers on the different platforms. I saw somebody else tweet about how you're going to have like a social media manager for each channel and then have that be like the the one like thing that they do. And I think like it makes sense because it's like we already see so many like social media people complain that they're expected to do, every channel, they're expected to do video editing, they're expected to do, events and then other marketing on top of that, that like as we've been talking about here, social media in general, like all these channels are their own, like, have their own audiences, their own algorithm. And so, like, you need someone that's like able to specialize in that type of like marketing in order for like the company to, reach the people that they're gonna, reach. And it's okay, it's good to be like a generalist, but at some point you are gonna need like a specialist to kind of come in and like do that work for you. Did you see this tweet, Jason? Would love to hear your thoughts. Just kind of like how you guys think about it in house, as like a company.
Yeah, so I've always believed this that you need a different social media manager for each platform, or at the very least, you need to split it up into writing first platforms and video first platforms. And so, what that used to mean and what it still basically means is like Twitter and LinkedIn are writing first, whereas Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are video first. And it's very hard to do both well.
Mhm.
It took me, a long time just to build up my Twitter audience to 40,000 plus, and I've been going for a while. It's taken me a while to build up my LinkedIn. These things don't happen overnight, and a lot of these SF engineering brained MFs assume that marketing is really easy, or it's just like
Yeah.
something you could quickly optimize for, or use AI
I mean, there's an AI CMO that comes out every week, right?
every week, or just like the new disgusting thing is the AI ABG CMO, where it's just hire a fake Asian AI girl, which is
Oh,
very weird.
I
I'm
haven't seen
very
that yet.
yeah, very confused by that. But yeah, I mean, look, every platform's super different. The language of it is extremely different. And how we do it in house is we have Jovian, who you had on the podcast. He's
Mhm,
kind of manning Instagram and YouTube. And then we have another guy managing Twitter and LinkedIn more so, and we all are like in-house creators as well.
mhm,
All of us are building our audiences, from my team to the engineering team. We're all building in our own aspect. We have one guy, 60,000 on Instagram, another 2.4 million on Twitter. Our engineers like a little less because they're actually engineering, right? So like this is nothing new, and I've been preaching this for 3 years now. Of I could look back at my tweets of you need somebody on different platforms because they're
mhm,
so different. You as a founder, as a startup, you don't need to be on every platform, so
mhm,
don't feel pressured to hire ahead of every platform. Hire the ones that make you money, and then the
mhm.
rest you could kind of like put on autopilot or like try your best on. But like at the end of the day, like, we don't have a Blue Sky audience, so I'm not posting on Blue Sky, right? Like, we don't
Is
really
that still a
even
thing?
I think they have dozens of users worldwide apparently, but,
That's
like, it's crazy, so, I don't know, I think, like, hire especially for platforms that make you the most money, like, you need platform specific if you wanna stand out, but for the platforms that don't make you bread, like, we're not touching Reddit at all because it's just a cesspool, and, like, yeah, there's money to be made on there, but, like, there's just so much more money other places that won't, like,
Mhm.
ban you for just posting
Yeah.
normal things.
Are you
So,
on
like,
Threads yet? Because Threads is
yeah,
growing
probably should be,
quickly.
like, I was on Threads the day it came out, and then,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, same.
every time I'm on there, it's just so boring,
Yeah.
and, like, I hate to be like, I like Substack too. I was on Substack in 2021, but
Mhm.
there's something about both of those platforms that, like, I don't know, maybe people are just too mentally healthy or, like, happy, but they're just so
There's a lot
boring.
less, like, fun,
There's a lot
you
less
know?
fun. I just
No,
scroll
like,
through.
jokes,
It's just
yeah.
it's painful, and,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
it's fake, it's painful, it's
It's funny
people
because,
aren't
like,
yeah.
LinkedIn, people are finding humor there, like,
I'm having
even
fun.
though
LinkedIn is better than Threads. That's, like, a weird
Uh-huh.
take where it's actually, like, also, like, if you go to substack.com right now, and you're not logged in, like, it will show you, like, where I know, sorry to Nathan, I know he was early at Substack,
You're
but
fine.
it's getting strange. Like, I was on Substack, 5 years ago, and now it's just strange right now where, like, the first thing I see is a guy, like, rocking his baby to bed as a picture. I'm like, I thought this was, like, the intellectual, like, blogging platform, and, like, Threads is even worse where I just see, like, brands, like, cheering each other on with, like, and, like, Taylor Lorenz, like, they're both just terrible, and, like, I don't know, I miss the old Substack where it was just people writing blogs, to be honest, I loved that.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
was actually really nice, but not as good for the valuation, so I get it. It's
Yeah,
all
no,
good.
definitely. One shout out I will say though is their NASA team is creating really great content on Threads. I mean on all channels, but they do have one person that like, deals just with Threads. So it does show you that some companies are taking it seriously, a lot more so than I
Yeah,
think one
maybe
of
I
those
should
tech
be taking
companies.
I probably should be taking both of those more seriously.
Mhm.
Again, it's just like a time thing, like, when all your money comes from,
Yeah. No,
a
no, no,
couple
definitely.
platforms, it's hard. It's a challenge.
No, definitely. I mean, and that's like a lesson, right? It's like you have to be where your audience is going to be. And it doesn't make sense to spread yourself thin across all the channels because if you're not actually, getting returns from, Blue Sky threads, even Instagram, right? If like you're getting more people from like TikTok because the
Yeah,
views are
yeah,
coming
of
from there and the
course.
algorithm is working in your favor a little bit more, then like, focus on TikTok. I think, overall lesson here is like, try to hire the people that are platform native that know those, particular platforms as best as you can, right? Like obviously things change all the time. Like Instagram is changing right now, right? Like they're doing trial reels where it's like you're now able to post content to
Yeah, it's
just letting
great.
it go like
Yeah, I love
what is
trial
it? Like
reels.
going like God with like, the trial reels like
Yeah, yeah.
um where it's like nobody that's following you gets the content but then, you also can have the different channel for just like the people that are following you. So that's something to be like testing out if like video first is a mandate that you want to have at your company. Um, the other thing here is this whole idea of like, what does it mean to be a social media manager versus like a social media creator, right? Like, usually social media managers aren't the ones that are actually like the face of the brand, though we are starting to see some of that, right? Like, Morning Brew has like, there are
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that are like, they're like writers, right? Or like in house content creators that are like, doing like the skits and, bringing people on. And we're seeing that with, when you see like journalists join in-house teams but bringing their audience along, right? Like we saw that with CNBC, a journalist is joining the team but is still doing her own like vertical. So you're kind of going to see like more companies kind of bring people in house without having them be employees because they're able to be a bit more free and create things in a way that they would want to, that they probably wouldn't be able to do if they weren't in house at the company. um and then ideas spread when they hit a new audience. So this is like using that as a testing ground. The channels that like TikTok, Instagram, like trial reels, where you can try your ideas with like a more I guess like an audience that doesn't actually follow you, and then work that backwards into like your actual audience in order to grow that engagement and potentially grow your following so that you start getting new followers.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, you need people who are experts on different platforms. You don't hire, like, the cook to clean dishes. You don't I
Yeah.
mean, this is not, like, an expertise thing, but, like, you just need people with Adam Smith was right. Going back to that is, like, there's divisional labor for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the best at TikTok in the world. Very, top notch on Twitter, but, like, that's why you hire out, and if you aren't ready to hire for, like, a full-timer, like, you hire influencers or you hire part-timers, or you just skip the platform entirely, and you could still have an extremely successful business. I think that's what people forget sometimes is, like, you can just ignore
Mhm.
what is going on the timeline.
Yeah. Well, one thing that stuck out of a couple things that you mentioned here were you went off the fly for a couple of like your most viral posts where
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it was just like randomly like, oh, I just, felt passionate about it. So I like,
That's
busted it
how
out at
my
that
best
moment.
posts are, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I recently went viral and it was like midnight thought that I had. And it's like, oh, it's never the ones that you think are gonna go viral that go viral, you know? And it's certainly never the ones that you like actively plan for. And I think that takes us back to takeaways for the whole podcast about what does organic mean, right? Like, a lot of the times, the organic content that goes viral is hardly ever thought out, which is like, funny to think about because like, ha- those are the things that you don't plan for, right? So I'm more like thinking here that it's like, how do you kind of create as close as you can get to like that organic content, which has kind of been like the through line with this whole episode about like, Jason like was creating like the event where, you would then have like organic content that came out of that because like the people that attended were going to put out the content. Not that, Jason was paying for it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then like, having like the in-house creators for like each of the platforms, they're more likely to go viral because they know the platform, they know what works. And then, in terms of like, film and music and brand marketing, some of my favorite content now are these like, user generated like, fan cams of like the summaries of what happens in movies, or like if it's like I think it was like the heated rivalry, you were having like the fan cams that ended up getting more people to go like look at the show, and then that person ended up getting hired by HBO because they were putting together such great content. So that's what matters now, is like the type of content that you're putting out being organic to the platform that you're creating, and as authentic as you possibly can without it, being like fake. Though we're kind of getting to that thin line of, is it fake if someone is actually putting it together, But ultimately, what does it matter if it gets you the views that you want?
Exactly, exactly. I mean, everything we're on the internet's not a real place, and I think we gotta remember that is the internet is not like, it is a real place, but it's also like, you know, have you ever just like alright, so when I was getting hit pieces on me,
Yeah,
I it was a very,
that's
very
right.
stressful time in my life. It was
Mhm.
very, very scary week. I was also in the middle of raising $3 million the same week, and I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was gonna get killed because I was getting death threats and, nonstop, and also, like, back and
That's
forth with
wild.
VCs, and then I just went for a walk through Central Park, and wanna know what? It was fine. There was nothing going on in the real world. It was just a
Mhm.
normal place, and, like, you gotta touch grass, like and,
Mhm.
also as, like, for creators out there, it's, like, crucial to, like, just touch grass and, like, be bored. Like, I go offline every Saturday, every single week for the last, ever since Charlie Kirk died. I started taking off Saturdays because it was just such a the internet can be such a repugnant place,
Mhm.
and, so I've been offline every Saturday, and, like, you gotta take that time off because the internet's not a real place, and, like, I guess that's why we're seeing, the rise of events, but, like, again, if you're
Yeah.
gonna host an event, don't invite me to Dorsia. That's all.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason, for joining me. Where can people find you?
Alright, find me at I am Jason Levin, or just go on memelord.com, send your death threats there, so my engineers read them and build better software, so
Awesome. And then you can follow me at Sonia Bushes everywhere, and the podcast at Meme Team Pod on YouTube, and then Meme Team Podcast on Spotify and TikTok. Thank you.
alright, cool.
Bye.
Thank you.